a lot happening in the politics in the lead up to the 2023 election. Your party is perhaps successfully managing, some will sound successfully, his own internal struggles. PDP deep neck in it. Some groups insisting that they already have a candidate for 2023 and all that. How will you weigh it?
Well, it's not news. It's just the normal behavior of the Nigerian political class. When election year is ahead, maybe 2 years ahead, they begin to jostle, reposition themselves, they assess their personal advantages, where they can stand and grab power. So what actually is happening is the reorganization of the political class, re-strategizing how to be relevant in 2023. And in the whole of this, I don't seem to hear any of them. I mean, giving Nigerians a better blueprint that will convince them. And the conversation is just about the crisis. This one trying to outsmart the other, suspension from this party, proposed suspension, expulsion, and all this. So, you know this drama of personal interest, I thought Nigerians should be very conversant with it. So for me, it's something I expected it, but it's coming too early. Maybe because of the nature of the stakes ahead, because the APC government now will be 8 years in office.
By 2023.
By 2023. And so within the party, there are new political czars trying to now manipulate and dominate the party and to emerge as the new empires, the new emperors of the Nigerian state. And then within the PDP, there are those who are also seeing that, no, I mean, we can capitalize on this, but Mr. ABC appears to be our problem. Let's try to blackmail him. Let's try to adopt some evil machination and get him out of our way so that we can reposition ourselves. So it's the normal struggling for where I would belong in the political space.
Some would say where their bread will be buttered.
Well, you know, the Nigerian politics is more about personal interests and not about even the Nigerian state. And that is why when you look at the attitude of the political class, we behave as if we are conquerors. And we see power as personal asset. And we no more see it as a covenant that was contracted through the ballot.
And the people see themselves and accept the fact that they have been conquered.
Well, there was a philosopher whom I always blame him for his line of thinking, a Russian psychologist known as Ivan Pavlov. Ivan Pavlov is the author of the theory of classical conditioning.
And hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, but I'm more interested about classical conditioning,
okay,
where he tied a dog for 3 days and starved the dog. And then he mounted a structure in front of the dog. There was light and there was meat. And then after...
Okay, hierarchy of needs was Abraham Maslow.
Maslow, yes. And then after 3 days, he will press the bell, release the meat, the dog will salivate. And after some time, he withdrew the incentives. And once he pressed the bell and there was light or sound, the dog will salivate. So the dog now identified needs with light or sound.
It became conditioned.
Conditioned. Nigerians have been conditioned by the political class. And that is why when you go and begin to share slippers, detergent, to 200 naira, you are worshipped. The thinking of the people have been conditioned, and the political leaders are seen as saviors. Now the Commonwealth is also seen by Nigerians as if it belongs to them as their personal asset. That is why today, if you criticize a politician, some people will come and beat you up. Because you are criticizing their source of income and food. That is the content of the Nigerian politics.
They think that protecting their source of livelihood, but perhaps is their source of pauperization that they are trying to sustain.
What they have been sustaining is to actively lean support to those who are impoverishing them. Because the Commonwealth belongs to the over 200 million Nigerians. Mad people, sane people, disabled Nigerians. Every Nigerian is an owner of that Commonwealth. The leaders are trustees under a political arrangement called democracy, where they assess power through elections, power of the ballot, defined in a document called the Constitution. The Constitution laid out the ground rules for governance, expectation of the people, holding the people leaders accountable. That is democracy. But I mean, the situation we found ourselves is we have succeeded in some areas, but I mean, we have not gotten close to quite much.
Let's take a look at what is happening in your party, the APC. Some of your party members have come out to say that without Muhammad Buhari, your strong political ally, that APC will go to the Tatars. That they wonder what will happen to the party. Some have suggested implosion by 2023 when the president must have completed his tenure. How will you speak to that?
Well, APC is a political party that is a conglomeration of about 4 or 5 amalgam political entities. But the symbol of the success of the party is the president himself. You know, in 2015, we campaigned with what was then known as the Buhari hurricane. Now, the Buhari hurricane was a sweeping hurricane that almost all the politicians who contested the election in 2015, none of them spent 10%.
Of what they should have spent?
Yes.
So they rode on the Buhari
They rode on the back of the president to power. In fact, some of them did not even go through the rigorous scrutiny that is required to be elected. But the mention of Buhari hurricane was a seal that was unchallenged. Now, that brought into office or into government the APC. So Buhari is a very critical factor in APC. But, you know, it's more or less a gathering of people with different interests or different grievances, but a common enemy. It was not like within us in the APC, we were agreeing with ourselves. No, we had our grievances with each other, but we had a common enemy, which was to be defeated in 2015. And we needed somebody who had the wherewithal to lead us to war, which is Buhari. But immediately we conquered, everybody began to manifest his true colors. And that led to the situation where, I mean, we form a government with a predominant majority in the National Assembly, but it was welcomed with crisis from day one. And when we had one of the worst crises in the history of this country. Because as a minister, I could not remember when our budget was passed earlier than 5 months.
That's during the 8th National Assembly.
Yes, after presentation. So you will now look at it, okay, what would have happened? I mean, these people were too united when it was during campaign. But suddenly in power, they have just fractured into the different camps, and they are opposing themselves, and they were talking less about, their manifesto. So in 2023, Buhari will be very, very critical in APC. And of course, even today, the support that the government is enjoying from Nigerians, it's based on the fact that there are Nigerians who believe that, we know him very well. And so he was the one we trusted. That is what is playing out. So if we think that in 2023, when the president would have finished his 8 years, and maybe as we are repositioning ourselves, we must try to exemplify those attributes of Buhari that Nigerians trusted. And one thing that we're not looking at is that the successor to President Buhari must have some percentages of the Buhari in him for him to inherit whatever political goodwill he had been able to amass to get him elected.
Okay, now, the president is the leader of the party, as it were. How will you rate his leadership skill? Presidents do take over, apart from the government and the country, their party. Would you say he was able to wield all the various groups that came to form APC together? Do you think he has that responsibility to be that rallying point, uniting factor? Some said as soon as he assumed office, he ditched the party with his problem and concentrated on his government. Should he have done more in building the party, uniting them to prevent these cracks from emerging in the first place?
One will need a tutorial to understand the structure of APC before he will be able to place the blame appropriately. In the APC, there is somebody who is called the party leader. And the party leader is Asiwaju. Now, that creation presupposes that there is a father figure who should be able to intervene and bring government and the party in event of crisis or misunderstanding. So under the APC structure, the president is not per se the leader of the party. It is Asiwaju, because Asiwaju is the leader of the party, the father of the party. And
father or leader in what sense? Chairman of the BOT, or is there a position known as the leader of the APC within the organ and hierarchy of the party?
It is a position that was conceded to him when we were trying to build the political party. And it was based on the experiences of the PDP.
Okay, an informal position.
Yeah, they need to have a father figure who should be able to allow government concentrate when there are issues and be able to call them and bring them together. Now, whether the president has succeeded very much in uniting the diverse elements, the president, right from after inauguration, these differences which I identified struck a shocker on the issue of the election of the Senate president. While the party leader invited the party and the president to a meeting, members of the party with a different agenda went their way and had election.
With the PDP?
They went and had an alignment of interest with the PDP and produced an incongruous political structure that is alien even to democracy all over. You have the head of the Senate from the ruling party and the deputy from opposition. So that should have sent the signal to Nigerians what they should expect, because that happened immediately after inauguration. So if the president was invited by the leaders of the party and the National Assembly members were also invited, and this happened, of course, the disrespect shown to the president when that happened actually conveyed a message that we are not as formidable as expected.
Was it a disrespect to the president? Because first, you said the president was invited, he didn't show up. Two, the president, even before then, issued a statement saying he was ready to work with anybody that emerges as leaders of the National Assembly.
Yeah, and he stood by that. But the party leadership that was responsible for trying to settle out the zoning arrangement. And so they needed him as a member of the party and the head of the government. And if he was invited, I mean, courtesy demands that if you are inviting a president and you are a member of the party, you should show respect to the office of the president. You may dislike the face of the president, but that office, which you don't know, you will occupy tomorrow. So the disrespect was to the president, who was the highest office holder of the party.
In what way? Because I said earlier, the same president that said he is ready to work with anybody.
Well,
because some people saw it as an interest trying to drag the president's name into the choice of the leadership.
No. If it was an interest, the president couldn't have honored the invitation to prepare to go before he was told that all was over.
Okay, he was preparing to go.
The president was about leaving his residence for the meeting when he was told that no, something different had taken place. So it couldn't have been that the president or somebody was trying to drag his name. No, the president said, I am willing to work with everybody, because everybody is a member of the party, and every Nigerian, he will work with every Nigerian because it's about Nigeria. It is not even about APC. One thing we lost touch of in this country is that once you are elected into government, you do not represent your party. You are a government of the people of Nigeria, and every Nigerian is expected to get justice from you. That's why the oath of office said, I will do justice to all manner of men. All manner of men includes mad people. You must do justice to them. So it is this misconception of the party and the government, because people will wake up and say, oh, it's our government. It's the APC. It's not the APC government. It's the government of the people of Nigeria. The APC was elected. The APC will be held accountable based on the marking scheme it handed over to Nigeria in the name of a manifesto during campaign. And the media is the one that will present that marking scheme to Nigeria to assess that, oh, look, they said this, they said that, and they have done this, they have done that. This is how democracy works.
Perhaps I want to drag you a little bit into that of the PDP, just oppose with your party, their current travels.
Now, of course, like I said earlier on, you know, what is happening in the PDP is not even different from what is happening in the APC. I am slightly even confused whether there is more or less any difference between these two political parties. Because as a founding member of the APC, I mean, we have a clear-cut agenda of what we intended to achieve. Now, the mass movement of people from PDP, governors running with the mandates of their parties into the APC, got me confused. Because in 2015, I did remember, I attacked the PDP seriously and its style of leadership.
That's prior to the election.
In 2019, I did not even spare them, because I went for their political jugular. Because, I mean, those who were occupying elected position were the faces, or were the face of the party. So I attacked them that they did not provide, I mean, quality leadership as expected. Then suddenly, the APC now is on a recruitment drive of those same set of people. And as they are being recruited into the party, I expected that there should be more or less a stopgap where they will now have to confess their sins and be baptized and admitted into the party. But they are running into the party and taking over the party even from the members. And I got wondered because, you know, I'm a Christian. And I know that nobody converts on Saturday and is allowed to take Holy Communion on Sunday. But these converts, on Sunday evening, some of them even in the night.
You have to be baptized first, then you go through catechism to prepare you for the Holy Communion. And it takes weeks,
even not months.
Fastest, yes.
But we have converts, sometimes midnight on Saturday, and they are strategically positioned before the Holy Communion table on Sunday with their arms like this, pushing communicants to give them way. So I am a bit confused.
But is it not your party that laid the groundwork for this? You amended your party regulations saying you need just 24 hours or is it 48 hours of membership before you can grab a ticket to represent the party?
No, what I'm saying is that, I mean, the changing of these rules is unfair to those who founded the party. Very, very unfair to them. Because there are some of our members, I mean, that you know the nature of our campaign in 2015. We were out of government. We do not even have resources. There were people who even contributed. They sold whatever they have and invested in us because they believe we are going to make this country better. And Nigerians had their common enemy, which was the PDP. They wanted it out, and they voted it out. So if we are now going to begin to recruit governors from PDP into APC, or to instigate them, or to lay whatever ground you said, or to motivate them, or offer shelter for them to run into our party, as Christians, Muslims, traditionalists, even as atheists, we have consciences. Let's ask ourselves question, is it fair?
Especially when they, like you said, take over the control of the... There have been instances of the party, there have been instances where those that toyed, worked hard to form parties, they were pushed aside, and recruits came to hijack the party and took over. Is it a possibility in APC?
I see it coming. And, well, you know, I'm a critical thinker. And the way I look at things, sometimes it scares me. I see a situation where there is a ploy to destroy APC. And the real owners of the party, who are the common people, because APC is owned by the common people. We had no government before we got power. So those in government today cannot own APC because it means we will be excluding the real owners from their heritage. And we are now mobilizing army of those who will help us evict the owners of the heritage from their property. So I see this as a dangerous trend, even though it's being celebrated. You know, I'm not a prophet, but I do know that things I see and I say, they happen.
But perhaps this situation applies to you. You're a very close friend and ally of the president.
No doubt.
You were part of the formation of the APC in 2014, leading them into the contest in 2015. You were appointed a minister, but in 2019, after you also helped the party to come into power, you lost your ministerial position to someone from your state who moved from the PDP to the APC.
Well, my attitude to appointment is quite different from the way Nigerians look at it. I'm not a man of second chance. That's how I am. there is nothing in life that I give it a second chance.
What do you mean by that?
Any opportunity I have, I believe that I'm not going to come there again.
Okay.
So that's how I behave. So, yeah, as human beings, one could expect to return to office. But again, as one who believes in God, I am more thankful to God for what he has done, because I don't know why he did it. Back to who was appointed. You see, the president appoints those whom he wants to work with. It is his prerogative.
Absolutely.
You can't impose that on him. And so if he has decided to get somebody from Plateau differently to help him to work with, my job as his ally and as a mentee to him is to support him from whatever angle to make sure that he succeeds. And in supporting the president, I don't want to betray our covenant with him. My covenant with the president, when the president invited me some 10, 15 years ago to join him, my covenant with the president was that I know you to be somebody who is very, very critical and outspoken. Tell me the truth, however bitter it is. So any day I mislead the president and sugarcoated my tongue, I would have betrayed the president, and God will not forgive me. So people have been saying, oh, you are very close to the president. Why are you still talking? I am talking because we have a covenant with him. Tell me the truth. And the truth is naked. It doesn't need dressing. The truth is a loner. It doesn't need to be accompanied by a crowd. So this is my relationship with the president. And he has appointed somebody. I have a responsibility to support him to make sure that he succeeds, because I believe in him, despite whatever that is happening.
It's part of telling the truth to the president. You're being critical of the security situation in the country. There are reports linked to you where you said the country appeared to be losing grip of security.
Well, you know, speaking to the press in Nigeria, especially somebody like me, who once I open my mouth to say one thing, it can be replicated and multiplied into so many things. So that has even been part of me. But the security situation, from what I actually said, was that the security situation as it is today is getting out of control. And we campaign to restore security to Nigerians. And if the situation is degenerating day in, day out, then we must step up our strategy to try to protect Nigerians. In any case, even if we have not promised Nigerians, constitutionally, the first and the paramount responsibilities of government is the protection of lives and security. Humanity itself demands compassion, love, protection of fellow brothers, or protection of brotherhood. So if things are getting out of control, I shouldn't keep quiet because I'm a member of the APC. I have more reason even to talk as a member of the APC.
Would you have been critical if you were still a member of the Federal Executive Council?
Why not? Why not? I don't change my style, except that maybe, you know, in government, there are methods of communication. There are methods. And there will be no need when you have criticized at the appropriate quarters.
And not publicly.
Yeah, for you to come out again and begin to. That means you are not interested in correcting, the situation. But in government, even within power, I use the available method of communication to express even more critical opinions that I say them publicly. Because publicly, you make statements and take into consideration to national security. Because the essence of trying to draw the attention of government to doing what is right is for them to step up their strategy or method and protect lives.
Absolutely. And you know, people that, especially those in power, they shy away from the truth. It's bitter, no doubt, but a lot of people shy away from it. Is it perhaps it's part of your predicament? You were critical within. Could it be part of the reason why you lost your ministerial position?
No, you know, the ministerial thing for me, I think I'm very happy that at my age, from the very remote village of Sabongira in Langtang South, being even the first person to be appointed from that local government since 1948 into the office of a minister in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I think I should be very grateful to God. And whether I am appointed, reappointed, or not reappointed, I think I am contented that I have been given the opportunity to serve my country.
After all, we have ministers for just 6 months, 8 months, and you were there for 4 years.
So
almost 3
3
years.
and a half years.
Yes.
Yeah, 3.5 years. So I'm grateful to God.
How do you expect the president to handle this security concern?
You know, security is a very complex issue. And it has multi-sectoral stakeholders. We have not been able to, as a country, handle it very well. Before I will come to the level of government, the government has a responsibility to mobilize the people, to engage the people, to conscientize the people on security threats, so that the people themselves are part of the security operations. Now, that has not been done. That is a systemic collapse of the Nigerian state. And it's systemic because, I mean, this Fourth Republic appears to have produced some style of leadership where those elected at every level tend to look more of their own personal interests than the interests of the country or their society. When I was appointed a chairman of a local government in 2007, I was appointed a chairman immediately after 3 years of crisis in Plateau. So I inherited a post-crisis situation. And there was chaos and lawlessness when I came in. And I had to tell myself that I must do something to be remembered, must solve this problem. And I discovered that I can only solve the problem with the weapon of justice. I armed myself with justice.
Is that the bedrock?
Yes. So I had to warn my family. After taking out of office, the first people I warned was my family. I warned my immediate family, wife and children, told them I'm going to be ruthless. I went to the larger family. I told them, do not expect to be beneficiary of contract or appointment. All that you are going to get is the name chairman of local government. It's enough for you. And then I addressed the people and told them, look, if anybody make the mistake of killing another person, I will go after you. And then I will personally...
Justice must prevail.
Yes, I must personally lead police to your house to arrest you. And I did that with somebody who killed, who dared me. Led the police to his house and pick him and handed him over. Then I came to the remote causes of crisis, which is unemployment. I decided to embark on a practical youth empowerment program where a substantial percentage of the artisan population were engaged in all the contracts that were awarded. I made it a policy that every contract awarded, you must engage local artisans. And my brother, within a short span of time, stability returned.
Because hands got busier.
Very good. But a governor who controls a larger budget of a state is coming out publicly to say he cannot provide security. That is more or less committing what we call leadership suicide. You are telling the people you took out to protect that, you are on your own. What is difficult for you to protect? You are from that society. That is the traditional security system that exists in every society.
And there's a security vote.
And then we don't need, I'll come to that. The traditional security system, which has its own intelligence network, have you harnessed it? Come back to the security vote. Now, if you cannot provide the security, I was looking forward to governors coming out probably to tell Mr. President, we have been overwhelmed by this security. We're not getting the cooperation from the security. Here is the security vote. Provide security for us. Nobody has done that. All that I can hear is Buhari, Buhari, Buhari. Buhari, Buhari.
Governor Yari, when he was in Zamfara State, resigned as chief security officer, but retained the executive position.
No. Yes, he should have remained executive position. But did he hand over the security vote? No. This is the hypocrisy of this argument that, we are not chief security. One of the questions that I've been asking my brothers and colleagues who are holding executive position. Now, the governor said, well, I'm not the chief security officer, but he has a brigade of over 100, in some places 200-300 security in his house. The entire Nigeria security architecture in the government house. They have been protecting him effectively. But the security to protect the people is the one that he cannot be the chief security officer. So what is happening? You see, this is the reductionist theory of governance.
You said Nigeria is experiencing a systemic failure. Under Muhammad Buhari, what does this speak of his competencies and capacity?
Well, you see, you don't ask somebody to assess himself, because I cannot exonerate myself from this government, from the president, from APC. Because if you are going to put APC on trial, you cannot come and exonerate Solomon Dalun. I'm part and parcel. I'm guilty. I'm culpable.
So is this your confession?
You
talked of confession.
Yes, because if there are lapses, Solomon Dalun takes full responsibility. Because I participated in mobilizing Nigerians to elect the government. So it's not an issue of Buhari. You see, this is how the president, people gradually isolate the president and then left him alone to take the bashing of, whatever situation we have found ourselves. Nobody is owning up. Nobody is coming up to own up. So it's not the president alone. There is right from local government to the president. APC controls majority of the councillors in Nigeria, majority of the local government in Nigeria, majority of the House of Assembly members in Nigeria, majority of the House of Representatives members in Nigeria, majority of the senators in Nigeria, and then majority of the governors and a president. So it should not be reduced to one person. It's everybody doing his own part of the bargain.
So is it a failure of the APC?
The party should be targeted and not an individual. Party should be targeted because it's a party and so many people are elected. They have roles to play in the success or the failure of the government.
Where the party will say the president distanced himself from the party and took the game. They went hunting together, but once the game was captured, he left them behind and took it home.
No, I think those who are saying that do not understand the president very well. The president is somebody who, is a Democrat. After admitting in so many fora that, he is a Democrat. Now, personally, what I know has been his attitude is that if there is anything that you will advise the president and say, this thing is against the law, he will distance himself. There were issues that when I was in cabinet came up and members of the cabinet raised
the legality of the issue, and immediately the president withdrew, asked the memo to be withdrawn. So I think the president did not either distance himself from the party, but I think he trusted the leadership of the party with the management of the party, while the leadership of the party now were thinking they should be absorbed into the government.
So we say you're trying to exonerate your friend and confidant and political ally, the president, from where we have found ourselves.
No, the president takes full responsibility. He is elected the president of Nigeria.
Okay.
Whatever happened in this country today, nobody will exonerate him because he's the leader of the country. But I am saying that Nigerians do not need to help in this type of reductionist theory.
It should be collective.
Collective.
Thanks for checking out Symphony on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.